This is my
1992 GMC Typhoon, and it runs really well. You hear that hesitation? I think the timing is way, way off. See, that white line is way off. There we go. I'm moving the distributor right now. Right about there. I think that's 0. The idle fell right into place. She's good. Beautiful. That's what I want to hear. All right. So we fixed how this thing runs in the first, I don't know, 30 seconds of the video. I'll get to more of the science behind ignition timing in a minute. But if you guys appreciate an automotive channel that just gets right to work, no fluff, hit that subscribe button. And with that, I'm gonna trip over stuff. Let's do something that I forgot to do in the last video in the intro. In the last video, I restored everything under the hood, including this Cyclone where we injected paint and sanded the top. I said I was gonna go with the brushed aluminum theme for the Garrett on the intercooler too, and I forgot to do it, so we're gonna do it right here, right now, with a little sandpaper. Oh, this is gonna look so good. I'm stepping up to a finer sandpaper to really make this thing shine. Oh, what do we got? There you have it. I think that looks so much better and it matches perfectly. I even flipped the clamps upside down, just the little details. And to say you haven't seen nothing yet would be an understatement. We have a whole table full of cool parts to throw at the Typhoon to get this thing to drive for the first time in 21 years. And if you guys haven't seen the previous 2 videos, we did a lot of cool stuff, from discovering this car in the middle of nowhere in Ohio, getting it to kind of run, to bringing it back to legit street quarters and minting out everything under the hood, and really just sorting this truck out fully. So if you want to check out those videos, I'll leave them linked down below. But for now, let's get back to work. So we're gonna kick this party off with some cooling modifications to the Typhoon, mostly a radiator and fan setup that I bought. But first, we wanna keep some heat in. I'm gonna put a turbo guard on the turbo. So I just loosened up the bracket for the AC so we have a little bit more room to fit this in. All right, so with that pulled out of the way, we're gonna try and fit this over the hot side of the turbo. This is always kind of a pain in the butt to do. Oh, all right, guys, disconnect your battery. Well, the turbo blanket literally just caught on fire. That was cool. So I did do most of the battery relocation back to the front of the car. This thing was cranking so slow with the battery in the back. And I found one of the cables was totally corroded, so I took that out, put the ground side to the back of the cylinder head like you're supposed to have from the factory. And we have brand new battery cables as well, so our battery's just kind of laying here. I still have to install the battery tray. But anyway, there's a lot of metal woven into this that apparently conducts a lot of electricity. So we grounded it to the turbo and hit the positive, and this thing caught on fire. That's never happened to me. It's probably never happened to you, but I'm glad you saw it here first. Disconnect your battery. Well, really, when you're doing anything. Let's just, you know, remove this battery for now. Take 2. Let's pretend that never happened. And what I was trying to say was these things are usually a pain in the butt to slide in like that. All right, and then a little up and around or something. And we'll push it in. Okay. This isn't too bad, just gotta straighten it out a little. I bolted the AC bracket back in, so this is what our turbo blanket looks like now, and you wanna keep heat in so it doesn't melt anything, but also you wanna keep as much heat in the exhaust housing as possible because it'll actually help you spool the turbo. So outside of exhaust flow, the exhaust expands with higher temperature, which would increase its volume and cause your turbine wheel to spin faster and easier. So anyway, that'll do a lot of good things. Next up, we're installing this beauty. So in the last video, I tried to put coolant in this and realized that this is broken off right here, the overflow. And it's just an older electric fan setup. And although the coolant was green in the engine, there was definitely some deposits and buildup in the cooling system, which could have gotten stuck in the fins of this radiator. So it's gotta go. There's a lot going on with this radiator. We obviously have our upper radiator hose, but these are engine oil cooler lines that go right here. This is also where the oil filter is. And then more hoses on this side and my line wrench on one of the transmission cooler lines. Oh, it's coming apart pretty easy. Nice. Not the prettiest lines in the world. You know I'm eventually gonna do something with that. There we are. Now we just have these tabs to remove. I'm not really sure if this is factory. This kind of looks a little homemade to me. There we go. This should be everything for this guy to come out. You're just gonna come right out? Like no problem? Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Excellent. All right. Yeah, that might be original. You know we're gonna be doing some cleaning while you're in there, and another big while you're in there would be this right here. It's the coolant pump for the intercooler system, and we can power probe it to see if it's even working. I'm gonna say this pump's dead already. It's not even connecting, so Feed at 12 volts for no reason. Yeah, this pump is totally dead. She's getting replaced. You know, this thing's getting all new hoses and clamps as well. Loosen this one up. And we have a bolt here to remove. A little quarter drive for the win. And one more bolt up on top on this rusted piece of bracket. They're gonna so restore you. Oh, look at that. Ooh, stickers. I love stickers. Is that a sticker? Blue paint. Something. This old girl had no chance. I wonder if it's original. Look at how tiny this thing is. So this is an old Bosch pump, and we're going to replace it with a new Bosch pump, a much better one. This is the one you see me use on my E55 AMG and all those Mercedes cars and probably a bunch of other stuff. But yeah, big improvement. It's peeing on it right now. On second thought, we might be getting rid of this guy. It won't fit. The pump is much larger, but we can use the pump base and this universal clamp, and luckily all the hoses are the same size, so let's replace this. I got the clamp off. I had to cut this hose. Oh yeah, this thing's old. There's two 10s that hold this in, so this will come out nice and easy so we can clean it. Never gonna see any of this stuff, but you know, while we're in there. Oh, it looks nice. So much better. Now, as much as I love cleaning parts of a car that you'll never see, I like having the parts of the car that you can see look as good as possible, and that's why I use the Armor Shield 9 DIY ceramic coating kit on my entire fleet. Oh, and right now, my viewers are getting early bird access to a blowout Black Friday deal. Normally, these kits are $75 each, but for a very limited time, you can get 3 of them for $109.99. This is the best deal they've ever had. And if you guys have never ceramic coated a car before, don't worry. It's the easiest thing in the car world to do. After you wash and dry your car, you're simply gonna wipe the ceramic coating on, wait about 60 seconds, and wipe it off with a clean microfiber, and you're done. You can coat one section of the vehicle, move to another one, coat that, come back, dry the other section, so you can do a whole car in about an hour and a half, and then it's protected for years from the elements. The ceramic coating will film an invisible layer of protection over all your painted surfaces. It's also one of the best trim restorers on the market. Do not buy a separate product for this. Oh, and you wanna know my favorite part? It's how clean your car will stay after a coating because nothing sticks to the paint. This is a great example of how hydrophobic your car will become once you ceramic coat it. Look at the Oldsmobile. I left it out here in the rain. Nothing sticks to this. And because it's coated, it makes it so much easier to dry. It's just a slippery surface that nothing sticks to. The old Cutlass is all cleaned up and looking beautiful. And this car is also a fantastic example of how the ceramic coating brings out a deep and glossy shine to your paint. This car is a 1992 with the original paint. And look at how beautiful it is. So definitely take advantage of the deal. It's very limited time. You guys, my viewers, are getting first crack at it, and these have sold out in the past. So if you wanted to ceramic coat your car, click on that link down below, get a really good deal. Back to the Typhoon. This piece is welded onto the lower core support, so I can't take it off for restoration, but we will put some rust reformer on there. Many different brands for this, but it'll convert light rust and seal it, so it won't rust anymore. It goes on clear, but then it turns like a dark gray kind of black, so it blends in. It's kind of cool. We'll just hit the top of the frame here and some of these metal lines as well. So I need a 90-degree bend for the intercooler hose, so I went up into my parts department, which is my super unorganized storage area above my office, and I found this hose. It's used, but in great shape, and it's made in the USA. Cut this thing to size. These are the best. We have our new 90-degree hose and 2 new clamps installed. Here is gonna be our new mounting bracket. And after the rust reformer, I sprayed a little bit of flat black in here just to protect everything. And so we're gonna slide our new pump in like so. And we'll push this right into our new hose. There we go, our new clamp. So for now, I'm gonna leave this loose because we can clock it wherever we want. I wanna make sure we have room with the radiator, and then we'll have to cut down our big hoses for this. So this one's gonna go here, and it's gonna run to the top of the intercooler. And the way this works is the pump is gonna suck from the bottommost point of the heat exchanger. So it's gonna go in this way, out here. We'll connect it to this hose, which runs all the way to the top of the intercooler. And then the bottom hose will go down here and connect to the very top port on the heat exchanger. Hold on, guys, I see a socket in here. And I don't think it's mine. Oh yeah. Someone dropped the 10 mil? Is this a 10 mil? Did someone drop the 10 mil? It's a Craftsman. Not sure if it's a 10 mil. It might be standard, but wow, if only this thing could talk. What would you tell us, Socket, about the Typhoon?
It ain't got no gas in it.
That it's awesome. We have our bottom radiator isolator back in. I had to do a little bit of trimming for the new radiator. So now it's time for this beauty right here. An all aluminum radiator that says a bigger core than factory. It's actually made for the Typhoon, and it comes with a really nice shroud with 2 large fans. We're gonna have to swap out the connectors, but what I really like about this over the factory radiators that come in many cars is that the plastic end tanks can crack crack and leak. We won't run into that issue here, and this will support a bajillion horsepower of cooling. So let's see if it fits. All right. So far it's fitting. Oh, so nice. One concern I have here is the filler neck and the cap here is really tall. Is this gonna clear the hood? I put the old one back in and it's definitely a big difference. There's only one way to find out. We gotta put the hood back on right now. Here it is with the factory cap because the other one is just much taller and this looks way better. I think we'll be all right. And I like this factory style cap anyway. I even bought a new one for the intercooler. I'm gonna take this hood right back off because the lighting and getting to everything is so easy, but I had to try. I think we're gonna be totally fine too. There's probably a ton of room in there. Oh yeah, there's so much room. So you have the front of the hood and then it goes in like 4 inches or something. We could fit a cap like that big on this car, but we're not going to. Now that we know this beautiful radiator is gonna fit, we'll have to build some brackets. I gotta run to the store and get some more aluminum, so we'll make that ourselves, but we're gonna bounce around a little bit. Now that we know where this is gonna be, I've routed the intercooler hoses, so they're kind of tucked away underneath everything pretty clean. And I mapped out about how long this one needs to be, so we can cut it now. Okay. With everything routed properly, I'm gonna pop this back out so we make life easier. We can put clamps down on the intercooler hoses. Intercooler hoses are routed and everything is connected down here with clamps. To tighten up the pump mount, that is perfect. So we're good to go here. Let's raise this car up and we're gonna hit up the transmission because right now we have the trans cooler lines open. But hang on, you know what? Let's replace this old crusty starter first. It is a mini starter for high torque. I kind of don't think it's necessary and well, I think it's bad. Should be pretty easy to do. Couple bolts. Coming down. Woo, hello. CBR Pro Torque. Looks like it has a shim. All right, battery disconnected obviously when you're doing your starter. Now we're gonna take off the big power lead. Well, this is a 3mm Allen. It's kind of weird. Hopefully this is actually not stripping out right now. Yeah, everything on here is just pretty crusty, that's for sure. All right, there we go, we're disconnected. Now we can just yank this guy out. Get out. Out in a boot. Something? Ah, yeah, that's not the best. Man, it gets so hot every time you try to crank it a little bit, it's burning up. It's burning up inside. Look at that, with the starter out, we can see that reman sticker for the engine. I don't know if we can actually see what it says. I got numbers remanufactured 5812 something, yada, yada, yada. I ran the numbers through the old Google, nothing. So it's probably like some internal remanufactured number, but we know the car was stolen, I think around 2003, and the receipt for the engine was 2002, and then it sat basically since 03, so can't have that many miles. We have our brand new starter for my Typhoon. I didn't go with the rebuilt. This one is triple tested, so they tried starting it 3 times and it worked, so I guess that's good. But anyway, let's install this. We're gonna do our wiring first. Easier to do with this thing not installed. I cut some zip ties, got some more slack out of the cables so we can fit this one over here. Lock washer and then up. Alex torque. That's good. And now we have the activation for the starter, little guy. And that gets a lock washer and a nut as well. All right, cool. And now we can put this behemoth in. I will say the other one was slightly lighter. I don't know, probably not. Looks about right. I'm hoping we can reuse these bolts that were on the old one. Oh, yeah, we're good. Cool. Starter's done. We're gonna be doing a complete LSC care package to this, all new fluids, including the transmission. So we're gonna drop this pan and then we have the 2 cooler lines here we can blow some air into. So let's start dropping the pan. We're definitely gonna make a mess because no drain plug. I hate that. I totally forgot these had no drain plug, or I would have ordered a new pan that has one in it. That would have been sweet, but I forgot. All right, now we're gonna take bolts out. We'll leave 2 in and we'll make a mess. I have 1 more bolt to go. This is gonna get nasty. I hate that GM did this to us. All right, you know what? It's wanting to leak from this corner. Oh, God, I hate you, GM. You need to put a drain plug in your trans pan. Oh my gosh. I also need a way bigger like drain pan, that's for sure. All right, here we go. Come on, Alex. Okay. All right, had I not spilled everything those first couple times, like this wouldn't have been too bad. Oh, how's our trans fluid? Well, I could just take a sample from my arm and we'll pull the filter now. It's just an O-ring that hangs these things up. Shimmy sham it. There we go. There's that. All right, let's take a look at the bottom. This is where there would be bad stuff if this transmission's in bad shape. The fluid's definitely not brand new. It's kind of dark, but it doesn't smell horrible and we don't have any like big chunks of anything. If you see some of this stuff in here, that's fine usually, especially on one that hasn't been serviced in a long time. I'm putting the trans pan back on, so this is gonna be a drain pan. We're gonna blow out the lines and hope that we get more fluid out of it. Let's put a couple bolts in here, loosey-goosey. I don't speak English. So I'm gonna block one up with my thumb and then we'll just shoot air in this side. And then let's try the other way. Oh, I think that's the ticket right there. Oh yeah, get it all out, or some of it, some more out. Oh, it wants to come back. Oh no, it wants to come back out this way. Let's see how much fluid we got out of that. Okay, not the most, but you know, it's better than nothing. I cleaned up the inside of the trans pan and the magnet, and this is neat. This is like a flexible rubberized magnet. Goes right there, cool. So this was running a cork gasket. We're going to rubber. Okay, I think I got this right. Yes. And before you put your new filter in, make sure the O-ring didn't stay in the transmission. It's supposed to be on the filter like this, so you could accidentally double up and then it won't seal. Oh, this seal is so hard to get out. Get out. There we go, 90-degree pick. Yeah, this thing is hard, man. Jeez. I wonder if this is the original 90,000 mile transmission. It's got the new engine, but I got nothing on the trans. Hopefully this holds up. All right, we'll just pop this right back in. With our new filter and gasket, pan is going back on, and we'll get these 13s going in too. All right, we'll zip them on in, get them all started first. That way you line up the gasket. A couple Alex clicks and you're all good. There's a torque spec for this, but being a steel pan, just be reasonable with it. That's all. You'll be fine. All right, we gotta complete the LSC package here. I loosened up the fill for the transfer case. And that's what I was getting. I didn't think I was getting anything, so I took it out, and yeah, so this thing was overfilled. But the good news is that looks clean. The real test is what's at the bottom. Oh, it's good, yeah. So this is just Dextron 3 automatic transmission fluid, and it looks great, and it smells great. Awesome. I'm not gonna taste it. That's nasty. I might die. I wanna die. I wanna drive my Typhoon. We'll fill the transfer case in a minute. I just wanna take a look at what's going on with these diffs. So this just says a fill plug in the front, so we'll have to suck this fluid out. But did they overfill this one too? Let's see. Okay, no. Hopefully it's got something in it. I got our pneumatic fluid extractor hooked up. And this might take a while. Kind of a thicker gear oil, but I have that down in there and we'll just suck it out. Yeah, looks like gear oil. Definitely smells like gear oil. In the rear, we can use this guy. It fits in there a lot better. Check this out. We're gonna get a lot of fluid. Oh yeah. This stuff is a little nastier. Oh yeah. That's pretty bad. Sometimes you get moisture that comes in on the differentials, and it's pretty typical for a car that's been sitting forever, and it makes farting noises like that when you pump it out. And that looks bad. Nothing shiny though. Wasn't me. So we have the transfer case, the rear diff drain, the front diff drain. Finally took forever with that little tube, but they're all empty, so now we can go back together. Both differentials are getting the 80W90 severe gear, and this does have the friction modifier needed for an LSD. So these squeeze pouches are nice. We don't need any kind of transfer pump. They fit in nicely, and we just squeeze it in. Good to the last drop. And I think the rear diff is a posi. I don't know if the front is. That one might be open. Let me know in the comments if you guys know. All right, that's one. All right, we have bag number 2, and as soon as the fluid starts coming out, we're done. So I'll start going a little slower on this one. The big differential. Oh, there it is. Okay, and now we'll tighten this up. And you can pop the rear cover off to drain all the fluid out, but if it's not leaking back there, just suck it out. It's just kind of a waste of time. So you wanna have 2 pumps, one for trans fluid, one for differential fluid, and one for whatever else you're using it on. So right now we're pumping the trans fluid into the transfer case. So we have thread sealant on the drain, and we're going in through the fill. I'm out of my first quart. We're probably gonna get some fart noises here, and T minus 3, 2, right there she is. Whoever smelt it, dealt it. All right, it's coming out. We got trans fluid coming out, making a mess. There we go. Sweet, not that big of a mess. I filled up the front differential. Everything is full down here. We'll change the oil after we get this thing to operating temperature, because we put the oil flush in the last video, and we gotta let that do its thing. Since we're doing the Legit Street Cars care package, we're using all AMSOIL stuff. So we have the OE automatic transmission fluid, and this is Dextron 5, which is reverse compatible. So you can use this in Dextron 3 cars, but not the other way around. You can't use Dextron 3 in a newer vehicle that calls for Dextron 5. Now we're gonna go back in with the radiator so we can connect all of the trans lines and hoses. I think this is the last time, knock on something I can't knock on cap with my thumb. Should be the last time we have this radiator in and out. And if you guys are wondering why I'm not going a step further with the transmission as far as flushing like all the fluid out, draining the converter, all that stuff, it's because I don't know if this transmission even works. If we saw metal flaky stuff in there, I would have just put that old fluid back in, because sometimes if you flush a transmission that has really bad fluid and that's on its last leg, you're gonna make it slip. I don't think we're in that situation with this, but also I think eventually I'm gonna do a built transmission or something. Something else is going in this. So I don't wanna invest too much into this guy. Some of you guys had mentioned in the last video that this hose is extremely close to the alternator pulley, and you're definitely right. If you just install this in its natural position, that's it. That's all the clearance you have. But sometimes you have to twist a hose before you slide it on. So if we simply just twist it there and then slide it onto the radiator, we gain more clearance. I'm not saying it's good, but this is just how they are. All the Typhoons are just really, really close to that alternator pulley. Right now, this is like probably about a 1/2 inch. It's probably okay. We'll play with that a little bit more once we fully mount this radiator in. I have the lower oil cooler line on, and we'll thread this in as well. Always make sure you get these lined up perfectly before you put any wrench on them. There we go. All right, that's nice and threaded in. Now we can tighten it up. Not a lot of pressure needed here. There's no ring on the line. That's about like that. Here we go. We're gonna install a turbo guard. So this is a filter for the turbocharger if you can't fit anything else on, which, as you can see here, there is literally no room for anything. This is also a very tight fit, I must say. Okay, there we go. Turbo guard is there to guard. So that's what it looks like on it. It actually looks pretty cool. A lot of guys run turbo guards on street cars like all the time, especially in the Typhoon community. The original intake looked like this. It went over the radiator, over to the driver's side. It was actually flattened out and pretty restrictive, especially when you run a larger turbo. Now, when I bought the Typhoon, it did have this 90-degree elbow here and then the filter where the battery is. But obviously we put the battery there, nothing will fit. So this isn't permanent. I will figure some kind of solution out here, but for now, it'll be fine. Everything is connected to our radiator, looking so good. This is quite the difference compared to what we had before. I mean, look at the top of this. It's just nasty. The fans don't look the best either. Goodbye. This just matches the engine bay restoration that we're doing. So we have to do the brackets, although it's pretty well held in with all the lines and hoses, but we'll get 2 brackets going on here, use some factory bolt holes. It'll be nice. But for now, we are gonna get rid of this entire ABS unit. So these were the first trucks with ABS from GM. Something you guys have commented on and that I've read online is that they're straight up dangerous. So it's not that they don't work well, it's that when they fail, they bleed off pressure and then you could potentially have no brakes, which is no good. So they sell a delete kit, and a lot of guys, even the all original Typhoon guys, will delete this just strictly out of safety. So that's what we're gonna do. It'll also clean up the engine bay a lot, but anyway, let's start taking off old connectors. Get out. There's a possibility we'll be able to hijack either a ground or power signal from this harness to run our fans and our intercooler pump. You know I love factory stuff. Factory, factory, factory. I said that about 4,000 times in the last video. So even though we're gonna be removing all of these lines here, I'm still gonna use a line wrench, do this right. Might save these lines. On a car like this, you just save as much original stuff as possible. You know, before we get too carried away with the lines, let's extract out the fluid. Oh yeah, oh, that is old. Yeah, we're gonna do the master cylinder and the brake hoses too. That fluid that's bad. This is as good a time as any to test out a new tool. This is a brake fluid tester. So these 2 probes are gonna go in the brake fluid and it's gonna tell us the percentage of moisture that's in there. So 0 to 2% is fine. Anything over 2 is bad. So what do we get? Ooh, oh man, this is really bad. Look at, if I go down further or leave it in here longer, yeah, there we go. Red and beeps and 3 oh my gosh, this is really bad, guys. Jeez. Looks like we're pretty much maxed out at 4%. Yeah, we're done. This brake fluid's bad, people. This is really neat. So I actually had a subscriber give this to me at my subscriber meet that I had a few weeks ago at Fluid Motor Union. Super cool guy. He said he's been using one of these for years, and I used to use these at Mercedes as well. It's a great tool to have, but yeah, we need to change that. Now I gotta go around the whole shop and test brake fluid. This is too much fun. So here's the Hellcat. Dip it in. Oh no. It's not as bad. It's still technically green. Okay, 2.2. So in the instructions, it says if it's in the low 2s, it's okay-ish. You should change it soon. Red and flashing and 2.5 or above is bad. So I'll need a brake fluid flush on the Hellcat. I'm gonna find this thing online. I'll leave a link down below. I don't even know what brand this is. I can't even say it, Acevos or something like that, but I'll link it down below. This could be useful. All right, let's suck this out. Goodbye, moisture-ridden brake fluid. I'm melting. We're drowning. And I've got all the lines off. This looks like a big bracket. Can we slide this out? Little shimmy, I think we can. Nice. All right, that was actually really easy. Look at this big chunk, man. A lot of weight reduction, and plus, you know I would have gone crazy cleaning this thing and restoring it to new. Now I don't have to do that. Now we just have to clean up the top of the fender, and we're in good shape. So this bracket, we're gonna leave this alone. This is for the cruise control, so that can still stay there. And this is a line going to the proportioning valve right here. So that stays, okay. Good deal. We're gonna clean this up for now. We don't want any brake fluid on any painted surfaces. And yes, the top of the fender liner is not only metal, but painted on a GMC Typhoon. Pretty neat. But I think all these lines are going away. We're gonna disconnect these lines here going to the master cylinder. It's cylinder in German, I think. It might actually really be, I don't know, Germans? I'm gonna replace this master, so let's get it out of here. Just 2 nuts that go right into the brake booster. And it pulls off like that. Cool. I disconnected this stock union right here. One of them goes to the front brake hose and the rest to the proportioning valve, which is right here. So now this will all come out as one unit with all this mess of lines. Definitely need to get 2 hands involved here. This is all just kind of intertwined with the harness. There we go. Okay, that connector there. Are we free? Yay. And we get to eliminate all of this. Well, some of the proportioning stuff's coming back, but this isn't. Get out. Oh man, this feels really good. Look at all this stuff. Goodbye. We're working with brake fluid here, so I just want to clean everything up quickly because it can melt your paint. Don't want that. Look what we have living inside of the fender. Or we had something living in there. Cool, I would have never seen all that had I not removed this unit. Get out, get out. All right, I'm gonna take the washer fluid reservoir out so we can do a good job in here. And I'm removing these 2 bolts from the bottom so I can take this bracket off. You know I gotta blast this down and paint it. But by taking the washer fluid tank out and this harness out of the way, we can really clean in here. So nice, so nice. There we go, people. Sandblasting. It's a blessing and a curse. How do you not blast every little bracket you take off? You have to. But man, does it add a ton of time to my life. Let me tell you. Goodbye, old paint and rust. Hello, perfectly clean metal. They're done. Well, they're not done, but they're clean. I'm gonna hit both of these brackets with a little gray primer before we get to painting them black. You guys wanna see something that's like really disappointing? It'll also show you that brake clean does mess up paint. My beautifully painted plenum, out of all the parts, a drip of brake fluid must have gotten right there and it went down and that's what it did. I already tried cleaning it. It ruined the paint on my plenum and I'll have to fix that at some point because it's gonna bother me. Yeah, I was gonna say from far away you can't see it, but now that you guys know, you can see it. I scuffed the area with a Scotch-Brite. It is all rubbed down with alcohol, so no contaminants. I've had a ton of good luck with the satin black trim paint, so SEM makes a good one. This is what they had down the street, but the satin is like a factory finish. It'll spray out glossy, but when it dries, it should match pretty well. And I'm just gonna do a really light coat. I've masked off pretty much everything I don't want to paint, like the harness and stuff like that. But primarily, this is the area that we're gonna see now without the ABS, so we want it to look good. It's a good dusting for now. Final coat on the fender liner going down. This is looking really nice though. You know this is gonna bother me. I gotta try and fix this right now. I think this paint will blend well. I'm just gonna do a light mist. Oh my God, am I out of paint? Just give me a little more. There we go, just need a light mist. Okay. Blend it into the rest over here. Okay, I might have saved it. We'll find out later. I'm gonna let that dry and we'll peel the tape. Yes. Let's go outside to the other paint booth. Lots of bouncing around while one thing is drying. We're painting something else. And right now we just have the black, which we're going with the satin again on these trim pieces. Light dusting first, that's all she needs. And we'll come back, do a couple more coats, and these should look shiny and new. In a few hours for me, but for you guys, just a few more scenes probably. With all of our paint drying, I'm gonna work on the radiator mount. First off with some weather stripping. So this is a factory plastic piece that I cleaned up. It normally bolts in right here. It is plastic, the radiator rests up against it, which is nice. We could probably just leave that. But I drove the Oldsmobile over to Home Depot yesterday and got some of this weather stripping. And I'm gonna apply it to this, but look at this, DMC. DeLorean? Did you make this? That's crazy. What does DMC mean? That's DeLorean Motor Company. All right, well, I can't cover that up, so we're gonna put the weather stripping right here, and we'll line it like so, nice and factory-like. Now we can reinstall this piece, and it's just gonna add a little bit more isolation to the radiator, so I'll get this bolted in. I'm doing the final wet coat on the brackets, so we get a little closer. This is when it starts to look Beautiful, look. I already did that one, so sweet. But this is kind of why the first couple light coats are important, because if you just go right into this, you'll get runs. Right now, we're just kind of filling in the little gaps. Oh, this is so cool. Totally worth it, guys. Out the door, I'd say I'll have like 1 full hour into these 2 brackets. That's not bad. With this bolted back in, you can see here that the radiator is gonna go right up against our new cushion, and I did this side as well. So now we have to work on a bracketry system to hold this about right there. But hang on, in all of my insanity, I have so many things looking pretty on here, but we could make this look a lot better, the fitting for the oil cooler. Because I already cleaned up the aluminum line, that looks great. But right in here, little details like that. Yeah, we can clean this up. This is supposed to be a darker color, so it's not gonna be as shiny, but we'll make it look new again. It does look like the end of the oil cooler line is supposed to be black, so you know what we gotta do. We gotta make it black. It's already tightened down, and if you ever have to take this off, you just simply reapply the paint again. It's no big deal if you're gonna be crazy like me. Look at that, much better. So I bought a battery tray for like 40 bucks, but it doesn't exactly fit. I think it has to do with the fact that our turbo has moved slightly from the stock location. So yeah, we gotta do some trimming, it's hitting. We have a little map here of where to cut. I could break that off, oh yeah. Sweet, it's like very dangerous. I had to make a few cuts on this, but it does clear, so now we'll make sure this doesn't cut, you know, me. Do a little hand filing as well. This is a pretty cool discovery. This is the coolant hose that used to go here. It's just kind of old, but also it was getting in the way of our battery tray that I just cut up and painted. It's drying right now. This hose here though fits perfectly, and it goes around this way all the way to the heater core. Do you want to know where I got that hose? From there, the pile of Lightning parts. Thank you, Lightning. That's why I don't ever finish that truck. It's a parts truck now for Typhoons. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I love the Lightning. People ask me all the time, when am I gonna do the Lightning? This winter. It's a winter project. Once we get snowed in, I'm building the engine, it's gonna be back. But for now, I just borrowed a coolant hose from it, and it worked perfectly. Here's our battery bracket. No more sharp edges that would kill somebody. And it's painted, protected, won't rust. You can slide it right in. So it's gonna sit like that. And I found some nice looking bolts in my drawer, so we're gonna use these. And these are gonna thread right into the factory riv nuts in the Typhoon's inner fender. Nice. For the radiator bracket, I again, during my Home Depot trip with the Cutlass, I bought some flat stock and a bunch of other things. People were commenting, what are you building your Typhoon out of Home Depot parts? And I'm like, wait, you just wait and see. But yes, kind of. Oh, and if you guys have Facebook or Instagram, give me a follow at Legit Street Cars. I post up in between my videos some behind the scenes footage and pictures, just some fun little stuff like the Oldsmobile at Home Depot. So first step for the bracket is to cut down a couple of pieces. I made these the same size since they need to match. Now we can cut this in half. Okay. The plan is to use these factory bolt holes. There's one there and one there. And we'll make our 2 brackets go from here and then slide in here to retain the radiator, so it'll push it this way. Since this piece is gonna lay flat on the radiator, we need to take a measurement from here to where this factory hole is, which is right at 1.5 inches. We're gonna put our mark a little bit past 1.5 inches since we're making a bend, just to make up for that. We're gonna bend it right along that line. And so the jaws don't gouge into our aluminum, I have this wrapped in a rag. We'll bring this down a little. With that clamped down, we're gonna use our mallet to bend this down 90. All right, let's go see if this fits. The bracket has to fit under this lip. Perfect, and it is nice and flat on the radiator. Cool. So now we just have to make another bend. We have to bend this piece down in between the fan shroud and the radiator. So what we need to do here is hold this in the position it's going to be, and then we need to mark our line that we're gonna bend right there. Now we go back into the vise, lower it about here. Yep, that looks straight. And then it's mallet time. Cool, now we have a little S or Z. So then if my calculations are right, we should be able to slide in like that, and it'll fit under the lip and pull the radiator in. So once this is bolted up, it'll be solid, it's not gonna move. With the bracket installed on the radiator, we can make a little dot where we need to drill a hole. Center punch, and we'll drill. This is aluminum, so it doesn't take a whole lot. I bought some fancy stainless steel hardware that has a taper, so we need to countersink this hole. So this is a special drill bit to do that. And again, with aluminum, it's just really easy. And every once in a while, we'll just give it a test fit, see where we're at. Yeah, we want this to be flat and flush. Nice. That's what you want. Now we can slide this in between, line it up. This will pull the radiator in like that. And we'll have our stainless bolts going in this way. Then I bought a cool looking acorn nut, also stainless for this side, only the best for my Typhoon. Other side bracket is fabricated. This radiator isn't going anywhere. And you can see our seal on the outside of the end tank is compressed, but not too much, just perfect. Let's put the final touches on these. I'm gonna use a little bit of 800 grit sandpaper. That's gonna get rid of the oxidation and show the natural aluminum. Here's what the bracket looks like after some polishing. I also beveled this edge, and this is the end that's gonna go down in between the shroud and the radiator, so I got some shrink wrap tubing. Heat this up a little bit. This looks much wider, but it does actually shrink down to about 1 inch, which is perfect. Fold this edge down here, and we'll heat it up at the bottom too, make a nice corner. Give it a little slice of the bottom. There we go. Cool. Perfect. This is stuck on there, not moving. Here's our final product on the radiator brackets. You can see here that the heat shrink goes in between the two aluminum pieces, so they're not rubbing on each other. And I think it looks really clean, and most importantly, it is super, super solid. This thing doesn't move at all. Let's wire up some fans. And that all starts with a coolant temperature sensor switch that's going to kick our fans on at about 190 degrees and then kick them back off at about 170, something like that. These aren't always exact, but that's its rating. So we have a little bit of thread sealer on here, and we had an open port in our intake in a very convenient spot. So I'll tighten this up, and there's our temperature switch. These are the two connectors from the fans, and we're gonna cut these off. Oh, okay, that's gone. Yeah. I think at least one of those hit the ground. We're gonna combine both of the fans into one connector. Add a little heat shrink tubing there. We're gonna use a butt connector for this. Slide this end in, little crimpy crimp. Nice and solid. And these blues we're going to combine like that. And we'll have the butt connector perfectly flush. And then we can feed in our wires on the other end like that. Hold them in there. All right, that's very solid. With our crimp done, we'll slide on the shrink tubing, and a lighter does the trick with this. Just kind of move it around a little bit and it'll seal right up. All right, awesome. Looking good. I already did the other one. Solid. And I think I'm gonna use these factory holes to mount our relays. Oh, and I'm using stuff from Racetronics. I love these guys. I've been using their parts for years. And look at this. They still make parts for the Typhoon. They even put a picture of a Typhoon on the sticker. So this one's in a future video, the fuel pump wiring harness. But they sell some of the best harnesses ever. It makes everything so clean, and the installation just goes perfect. I'll leave a link down below for Racetronics so you can see what they have for your car too. So this is looking much cleaner over here, but the relays will stay probably right here inside of the fender. You guys want to see something pretty slick? Here's what we have for our relays and fuses. So we utilize these two factory bolts for the relays, and then there were actually little tiny holes already in the fender. So I added some new screws for our fuses. So these are gonna be for the intercooler pump and both fans. And remember the monstrosity of the ABS pump? Well, that thing was powered by some very large gauge wires, and we traced this back. These go directly through the harness to the battery. So this will hold a ton of amperage, and found this new connector that just snaps right in. So we're gonna pin this, and we're gonna utilize the factory wiring for the ABS that is no longer to power up our fans and our intercooler pump. Guess what it's time for? These freshly painted, beautiful brackets to go back to their home, because I don't want to run any length of wiring before this is there, because we gotta work around the cruise control. That's what this is for. It's right here. And this is vacuum actuated, old school style. This diaphragm here is directly linked to the throttle. The vacuum holds it. This bracket bolts in from the bottom with an extremely long bolt. I don't really like that, but anyway. Then this goes right on top with a couple more gigantic bolts. You know I had to. I found a shorter bolt for that and painted these. We're gonna start filling up the cooling system. We're definitely going green. That's period correct. Get yourself one of these coolant filler uppers. That's what they're called. They come with a bunch of different attachments. See, they're on the ground. It really helps you fill the cooling system quickly. Oh, we need more. Couldn't find a fitting for the intercooler, so we'll just pour it right in like that. This is the highest point, so this shouldn't be too hard to bleed. I'm gonna get the brake master cylinder on too, just so everything that's going to be here is here. And this is what we're using for the ABS delete. Pretty basic stuff. 3 braided lines and a union. That's it. So we're gonna feed these down this way. One's gonna connect to the car going that way for the rear brakes, and the other one to the front. That's the one with the union, so it branches off to the front calipers. And this slides over like so. I went out and bought a brand new master cylinder while we're in there. These are all cheap parts, people. A lot of the stuff for the Typhoon, just regular, GMC, Jimmy, Chevy Blazer stuff. This was, I don't know, 70 bucks, something like that. Did you guys catch it? I totally messed up. This bracket goes on the outside. These don't line up at all. Just did that to see if you were paying attention. So here it is. We have our factory plug going into our new plug, and then we have 2 relays and 2 fuses mounted to power up the pump and the fans. So we use 10 gauge to power everything, and these are just the signals for key on. And here's our nice loom for the temperature sensor to kick the fans on. At this point, we can start to refill our new master cylinder, and we're going to bench bleed this, but on the car. So you can see I have these clear tubes stuck in here. We're gonna run these right back to here, so it's gonna bleed itself out. We have fluid coming up the tube right now. Add a little bit more fluid. We'll run these in, and right now we're just pumping the brakes, and fluid is coming out. Let's see, we got bubbles too. Now with the lines in the fluid, we can get all of the bubbles out, so you wanna have these submerged. That way we're not sucking up any air. Like that. Oh, I gotta submerge them more. There we go. Okay, keep going until there's no bubbles. This is very satisfying. Who doesn't like bubbles? When you're done, you'll have a steady stream like that with no bubbles. Once this is bled out, we are gonna pull these. It'll lose a little bit of fluid, no biggie. And we'll get the lines going right away by hand. Don't force anything. Snug this up, and we'll get the line in here too. Cool, click. We're bleeding the brakes now, so you always wanna start with the one furthest away from the master. I'm on the second one on the driver's side now, so we'll open the bleeder. I bled out the rear wheel cylinders. We're moving to the front. We're getting some old nasty fluid. It's coming slow though. You guys have seen me bleed brakes a bunch of times. Start from the furthest wheel from the master and then work your way up. Last one's driver's side. The brakes are bled, and yes, I will be replacing these at some point, but I wanna go with bigger brakes, so I'm not gonna invest anything into the stockers. I know they look horrible, but there's no lip on the rotors. There's still some pad life. We'll be good until big brake time. And big custom Typhoon wheels, which are already on order. So we're gonna start it up right now and get it up to operating temperature now that we have fans and coolant and all of the fluids are back in. So I'm just looking everything over right now. We will probably need to add a little bit of coolant in there. This is how we have the wiring harness for the fans, nice and clean. Let's just do it. Let's just take the tape off, but I think I have saved the brake fluid mark on my nice plenum. Get out of here. Is it back? I think it's back, guys. I think it's back. Yeah, you can't even tell. That's perfect. That was kind of like gut-wrenching for me to see that, but we fixed it. Disaster averted. Here we go. First start with fluids. And a very weak battery. It's been a few days of working on it, and we haven't charged that at all. But okay, we'll double check timing as well. It's best to do the final timing when the engine is totally warmed up. So the fans are off right now. It's gonna wait until that sensor is reading about 190. You can see our coolant is moving around though. That's because our pump is on. I have the pump to be on anytime the engine is running. That is the way I wire it up on all my water to air intercooler cars. I shut the engine off so we could bleed this a little bit more. I just had to pop this hose off and fill it from the hose. And look at that flow, guys. That's fantastic. We're good. Now that we have this engine warmed up, let's drain the oil. So this will have the flush in there too. Yeah. You can see how thin it is. It has cleaned everything out. Sweet. Don't get me wrong, I love the fact that this thing has an oil cooler, but having the filter right here, not cool, man, when you got a nice engine compartment. I don't want to get oil all over the place. Ooh, what do we got here? Super Tech. That just looks old. Very old. There it is. Oh, jeez. All right. Don't spill, don't spill. Ah, there we go. Yes. We're going with a nice Wix oil filter. This is easy. This is nice. Didn't make a mess at all. I like it. I take it back, Typhoon oil system. You're awesome. You know the Typhoon's getting AMSOIL synthetic, the best engine oil ever. And you guys can become one of my preferred customers. I'm an AMSOIL dealer, so I'll drop my link down below. And that way, when you order oil, you're gonna get 25% off. It's running really good. Oil pressure, coolant temp is getting up there. We do have a check engine light on. It's OBD1, who knows? It's running good. When we do the final tuning on the dyno, in a future video, this is getting dyno tuned. I'll figure out the check engine light, but right now it's running great. All right, fans are working as well. The truck's up to full operating temperature, so we can double check the timing. And so when you're setting base timing, you disconnect this. It's in the passenger footwell, but I just plugged it back in. Once that's in, now the computer is back in control. We like to see about 15 to 20 degrees. That's normal on a Typhoon, just right now at idle. You see that white line right now? It is below before our 0 mark. It's hard to tell on camera, but it's about 15 to 20 degrees before top dead center. That's what we want. If you guys are confused on ignition timing, let me show you with a piston. I'll make it easier for you. But when the piston's going up on the compression stroke, we want to fire that spark plug at about, in this case, 15 to 20 degrees before top dead center. Every car varies a little bit, but the reason you want it before top dead center is because it takes some time for that flame front to spread and for there to be actual combustion. So you want the piston on the way up, you spark it, it's still gonna go up a little bit more, so we're talking 15 degrees before top dead center. That's 15 degrees of crankshaft rotation. It builds maximum cylinder pressure, ideally right when it's at the tippy top and then on its way down, so it can push it down with all the power in the world. But if you advance the timing too much, you're gonna get knocked because that flame front happened before the ideal position of the piston, and you'll start to hear that, and it can break the piston. So anyway, we'll talk more about this when we eventually tune this thing on the dyno. Here we go. I'm technically driving it. Yes! Oh, this is so crazy, guys. We got reverse. You guys want to see something cool? From that to that. Yes. Baby seat in the back too. Because I basically daily drive the Oldsmobile. I might be daily driving this though. Wow, this is going really well. I don't know why I said that. Knock on steering wheel. Here we go, people. I'm pulling out of the lot. No idea if the transmission works. Fluid level was good though. Every single fluid on this vehicle has been swapped out. Minus washer fluid. I forgot about that. It'll be okay. We have brakes. That's good. All right, here we go. Do we have first gear? Oh yeah, we do. It just shifted. Oh! I hear the turbo, and it shifted again. Yes! Is it gonna shift? I don't know. I think we might have just gone up to third gear on that one. It's a little shaky. That's not good. I'm gonna turn around. I don't wanna go too far away from the shop. Turbo sounds awesome. I think it shifted again. Yeah, this thing is just shaky, but it runs well. It runs well. It's like, you know, it could be like the steering, suspension, something like that. This is the best truck ever. Sounds so good. Oh my gosh. I got a Typhoon. It makes turbo-y noises. It's a little vibrating. The trans is good though. I don't know. Yeah, we got a lot to look at. It's the first drive. What do you want from me? How does she handle? Okay. All right. She ain't no Ferrari. She just beats him in a straight line. All right. Obviously, I can't go crazy here. We're not tuned. But I can do quarter throttle turbo noises. You guys got to see what I'm seeing here. Driving my Typhoon, whistling away and shifting away. Guys, that's like 8th quarter throttle. Like that's what it sounds like all the time. But like the exhaust itself isn't loud. It's like all turbo and blow off noises. Oh, yeah, it doesn't really have a blow off valve, so it's just like the Grand National, no blow off valve. So that's turbo flutter. It's normal in the 90s. Look at this beauty. Just look at it. I'm checking everything out under the hood, and it's all good. No smoke, no nothing. Seriously, runs perfectly. Shift. Shift. We're in third. And there we go. We're in fourth. Perfect. We got a good transmission, people. This was a successful mission, guys. I am so happy right now. First drive of the Typhoon, and it is going so well. Back on steering wheel again. I love it. It is one of the most comfortable cars ever. Like, everything's in a good spot. I have no center console yet, but when I get one, it'll be even better. I love you, Typhoon. That's it saying, I love you too, Alex. Oh, I wish I could beat on this thing. Not yet. Next video though, we're doing a bunch of mods. Well, the truck is back at the shop and on the lift with its wheels missing because we should probably start by replacing its tires for that vibration. They were 25 years old, so probably a few flat spots and whatnot. Fingers crossed that that fixes it, knock on fender. But we've come a long way so far with the Typhoon. It went from a truck that had been sitting in a garage in the middle of nowhere, Ohio, to something that's now running and driving and sounding so good. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video as much as I have enjoyed making it. I'm having a blast with this thing. And if you did, give it a big thumbs up. Share the video with your friends and family. Subscribe if you haven't already. There's a little button down there. It's totally free to click and it takes like 2 seconds and it really helps me out. But most importantly, have a fantastic day. I'll see all of you in the next video. And then more hoses on and then more hoses on this side, and then more hoses on this side. How's your angle there? Let's make it the greatest angle ever. There we go. That's the greatest angle. That will chemically bond to. So I look exactly the same, you know. Mostly just really handsome. We need a 90-degree bend hose. So I need a 90-degree bend. So I need a 90-degree bend for that intercooler. Blah. So I need a 90-degree bend for the intercooler hose, and I went up into my parts, blah, 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 which is my super organized storage, which is my super unorganized storage. So the way this works is the pump is gonna suck from the bottommost point. So the way this works is the pump is gonna send through, yeah, I read the instructions. I looked back at the instructions, so it's like, so if it's in the low twos, they say it's like, so if it's in the low twos, I guess, so in the instructions, it says if it's in the low twos, it's okay-ish, you should change it soon. So there's, I think I'm actually gonna, all right. Been a while. It's pretty much all my videos. So since this piece is gonna rest flat on the radiator, since this piece is gonna lay flat, and you can see our seal, on the outside of the end tank is, the wiring's complete. So this is our factory plug. So here it is. We have our factory plug going into our new plug. So we use 10 gauge for everything. So we use 10 gauge to power everything. All right, everything. So we have the transfer case, the rear diff drain,